Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we used to work for the Black Guardian, but now we work in a retail store in Ledworth because this week we watched Closing Time.
Written by Gareth Roberts.
Directed by Steve Hughes.
It aired on September 24th, 2011.
Yeah. So, Gareth Roberts back, bringing back fan favorite Craig. If you don't know what the intro is referring to, the character Val was played by Linda Barron, who, as we just discovered, not only played Captain Rack in Enlightenment, one of the best Fifth Doctor stories, she also provided the voice for the Ballad of the Lost Charles Saloon in The Gunfighters.
You can check out of Doctor Who anytime you want, but you can never leave.
I mean, it's true for us. I checked out like 2 seasons ago.
Oh, wow. Also, remember, if we stop this podcast, we die.
Yeah, now that we've introduced that bit of information to the Trust Your Doctor lore.
Oh god, Trust Your Doctor has lore now.
It does now.
Well, look on the bright side. At least we only have to do this for the rest of our lives.
That's the bright side. Thank God when I die and go to heaven, I'm not going to be sat down at a podcasting table by God. He's going to be like, you're going to need to podcast now. Thank God for that.
Literally?
Yeah.
So Closing Time.
Yeah, Closing Time. In other podcast-related news, I finally finished editing our re-record of the Daleks that we promised like 4 months ago. That kind of took a while to edit.
But we
because
never promised when.
Yeah, it's true. We never promised when. But I finally finished editing it, and because we're obviously not going to record a Christmas special this year, like the Christmas special last year was solely for the purpose of announcing Zenith.
And I mean, now that Doctor Who has nixed the Christmas special, we have the precedent to do so as well.
Well, but then we're going to have to start doing New Year's episodes, and then that gets weird because the podcast was started like 2 weeks after New Year's, and we always do like an anniversary episode, or at least we're planning to up to 5, which is the next one, and then we're going to... Yeah. Anyway, look, my point was we'll probably put the re-recorded Daleks episode up around Christmas. I'm not going to promise it's going to be up on Christmas, because if I make that promise, I know I'm not going to keep it. So it'll be up around Christmas.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you just tweeted about this recently, but remember like about a year ago when we were like, we should revamp the website.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that too.
Here we are in December.
I want to try to do that before 2019 too, because I'm also working on migrating the plugin and so that way it'll like automatically make a YouTube episode, so that'll go out on time, so I don't have to keep forgetting about that as well. Look, I'm just trying to like automate a whole bunch of stuff, so I have to do less work every week. And
yeah, and once the tweets and Facebook posts are automated, I can log in less than I already do.
And we'll do that, and
but I mean, I'm not trying to pin this only on you. I mean, when we do revamp the site, I kind of want to go through the content now that I know like a lot more about like writing for websites, because scrolling through a lot of what we have on there is just painful now, but whatever.
Well, we have a whole bunch of show notes pre-4th Doctor episode to write as well, technically, that we promised at one point. And again, never promised when. Look, big changes are coming to Decorative Vegetable in 2019. Post-Zenith and pre...
whatever comes next.
Yeah, whatever comes next. No promises. No promises that anything is even coming next. But post-Zenith, changes are going to come to the website, and hopefully it'll look nicer, and things will be more automated, which will give us less work to do so we can dedicate more time to actually the stuff we put in the episode, rather than editing and uploading and all the social media nonsense around the episode, although that we both know that that's not going to happen, but whatever. Closing Time. Gareth Roberts bringing back fan favorite Craig. I said that exact same line about 4 minutes ago. If you're having moments of deja vu, I assure you this has happened before. You've listened to this exact episode before in another life.
I mean, the silencer in this, they show up at the end.
Those final 2 scenes were apparently written by Stephen Moffat. I'm going to say that now before I forget.
Yeah, and I mean, now that we bring it up, I realize that one of the big horrors of the silence...
Yeah, the silence.
Forget that. Yeah.
It's a Church of the Silence, but they're the silence.
Yeah. One of the biggest horror things surrounding them, and I can't believe I didn't even think about this until now, is like, this is going to sound stupid, but I'm going to say it anyway, is like they could be real. Like a creature of that kind with that power, like, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I believe it, but
yeah. They are real.
Since you forget when you look away.
Looking at one right now. What? But yeah, I mean, of all the Doctor Who, I was going to say villains, but
they're villains.
Monsters. They're not all necessarily villains.
Well, the Silents are.
They're not all necessarily villains. That's all I'm going to say on that sentence, including the Silents. They're not all necessarily villains, but of all the Doctor Who monsters, this is the one that would be most likely to be real, I think. And well, of course, the Scribble monster from Fear Her too.
No, I mean they're a human. Well, I mean, yeah, actually, if you say monsters rather than villains, sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't think they're likely to be real. I think there's just like no way to. Well, what I mean how it's configured is like if I don't know. This sounds extremely stupid, but.
But I mean by like most likely to be real is like of all the monsters, like if there were one that were real but we didn't know about, it would most likely be the Silent because you forget about it as soon as you look away. So anyway, basically Stephen Moffat was like, yeah, since I'm not doing 2-part finales now, like that hack Russell T. He didn't actually say that, but he basically was like, yeah, we'll do another like standalone episode right before the finale this season. Again.
Yeah, he described it as the calm before the storm. Mageddon.
Yeah, next week is definitely a storm. The preview really downplays.
I mean, the preview had a lot of stuff going on. It had like a dinosaur. It had the Daleks. It had
that was about a third of what actually happens in the episodes. So brace yourself. Either you'll love it or you'll hate it. I mean, I'm just gonna say that. I mean, some people consider it a mess, but some people don't. It's one of those super Marmite episodes where either you love it or you hate it. I think.
Is River Madame Kovarian? Are they the same goddamn person? Is that what's gonna happen next week? Because there's that shot of River wearing the eye patch.
Well, you'll find out when we get there. But anyway,
oh God.
This was designed to be, like Keon said, the calm before the storm. And he wanted to... Well, fans really responded to Craig, and Gareth Roberts really liked James Corden's performance as Craig, so he's like, I want to bring back Craig. He also wanted to bring back like a classic villain, because there wasn't any in other episodes of the season in like any major capacity. So he was like, well, I'll bring back the Cybermen. I mean, the Cybermen made like a cameo appearance in The Good Man Goes to War, but it was pretty much the extent of like previous villains in this season.
Yeah, Moffat hasn't really dealt with the Cybermen yet. Because they were in the next Doctor, but that was the tail end of the 10th Doctor.
That was also Russell T.
Russell T. That's what I meant.
And they showed up in the Pandorica Opens just as kind of background characters.
Yeah. And they kind of show up in this just as kind of background characters as well.
Although they are the main villain of this.
They are. I think Moffat, this is speculation, but I think he wanted them to have a larger role. But now moving not into speculation, Gareth Roberts has said that he wanted to downplay their role and focus more on Craig, which I think was a good decision.
Yeah. Apparently the original title of this was 3 Cybermen and a Baby. Apparently a reference to a Tom Selleck series named 3 Men and a Baby. Which sounds kind of like 2.5 Men now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think I've heard of this series, and I think it was in reference to like what 2.5 Men was named after or whatever.
When are we doing a Magnum PI podcast? And the original plot was a little more abstract than this because there was like a Cyberman who'd been guarding the Cybermen for thousands of years and had run out of parts, so he was using like human parts. So it was like
spare parts, if you will.
Wow, what a twist. And eventually the Doctor is able to like use the Guardian's like half-developed human personality and destroy the Cybermen using that. That part was sort of held over in the final version with Craig's.
It pretty much was.
Craig being the one to overpower Cybermen. But when they doubled the number of Cybermen, apparently they had to drop the 3 Cybermen and a Baby line because didn't really work, even though, like, I'm pretty sure no more than 3 Cybermen really appear on screen at one time in this.
No.
And then, so Stephen Moffat wrote, there's kind of a little scene at the end of this episode that ties in to next week. And also this was designed to be the companion light episode of the week, so Amy and Rory only show up very briefly in the middle of the episode. The preview for next week doesn't give away whether or not Amy or Rory are in next week's episode, which I thought was
clever.
Clever. I was surprised that they made that choice for next week.
They are. They almost for sure are.
But are they in it as the current versions or the past versions? Because we know that they go back to the event that started this whole season with the Doctor dying, so maybe it's just...
Oh, yeah, that's true. Guess I'll find out. But yeah, closing the way this episode achieves that configuration of the companion light story is that the Doctor is this is almost it reminds me of the end of the 10th Doctor, where he goes around kind of doing his own thing, putting off his death.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely similar. It's Stephen Moffat does Russell T again, right? The Doctor even says it's his farewell tour, just popping in for some social calls before he goes. Apparently he's been doing this for 200 years, which, like, at the beginning of the season, part of the reason, or part of the way that Amy and Rory figured out that the Doctor that dies is like 200 years older than is older than the other Doctors, that their ages are 200 years apart. And I guess Stephen Moffat just remembered this, like, 11 out of 12 episodes of the season. He's like, oh shoot, I added 200 years to the Doctor's life, better throw it in somewhere. It's kind of what it feels like. I mean, he could have easily thrown in, like, at least a couple years on his life in the middle between Good Man Goes to War and Let's Kill Hitler, but instead we're putting all 200 of them at the end. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. It feels a little like last minute, which is why I would have maybe liked it if, like, at least, I don't know, 20, like, at least some non-trivial number was in between Good Man Goes to War and Let's Kill Hitler. It was like a month. I think the Doctor says it was like 3 months.
But yeah, Craig is back. There's sort of this establishing scene again, with Craig and you don't really get what's going on at first, but it turns out that Sophie, I believe her name is taking a vacation because we don't find this out for a little while longer, but Craig and her have a child now, she wants some time off, and nobody trusts Craig to take care of this baby for like 2 days.
The reason why this is set up this way is because the actress who plays Sophie.
Her name is like
Stacy or something.
Well, no, it's the name version of the silence. Like as soon as you're not saying it, you forget it.
Daisy.
It was Daisy?
Daisy Haggard.
Oh, plays her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plays Sophie.
All right. I was like, wait a minute. It was Daisy all
Daisy
along?
plays Sophie.
Okay.
She was acting in a play when they were filming this, so...
Yeah, real Shakespearean, I see. Real, too good for TV? Is that what it is? No, I'm kidding.
David Tennant was a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah, he's a Shakespearean actor.
A lot of actors on Doctor Who were Shakespearean actors, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, Colin Baker was. I think. I'm pretty sure that was the case. I'm pretty sure.
So
actually, you know what? I take that back. I'm not entirely sure. Not even pretty sure.
I'm not going to make a comment on the veracity of that statement, so... Anyway, yeah, so she leaves, and then Craig starts calling all the people Sophie called to tell him that he can totally handle it. He doesn't need their help. And then the Doctor rings the doorbell, and he's like, how did she get in touch with you? And he's like, she didn't. Social call. The Doctor's wearing that kind of long, sort of green, but not really green, like really muted olive green coat that he was wearing at the start of this season in his old form when he dies.
Yeah, I guess.
Quote,
I didn't
unquote.
Really notice that, but I guess sort of a hint that the end is near.
The end is nigh.
The fact that this is the 12th episode of the season
didn't give that away.
Yeah.
The end is nigh.
But Craig has moved into a new place. The Doctor's like,
house.
you remodeled? And Craig's like, no, we moved into this house.
Well, he says the line that this is what was it, the second or the third Doctor says when they go into the first Doctor's TARDIS and they're like, oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
That the second Doctor also said when he went to the remodeled unit in 5 Doctors, oh, you remodeled. I don't like it. So the 11th Doctor says it now. And also the 5th Doctor said it to the 10th Doctor in Time Crash. You've remodeled. I don't like it.
Wow, good on you for picking up on that, I guess.
I only picked up on the one from Time Crash, and then, which I read was a direct reference to the one in 5 and 3 Doctors.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason why I bring this up is that we joked about the Doctor having a key to Craig's apartment in The Lodger, and now it turns out that, yeah, he just does have a key to this random person's apartment.
Does he?
Well, because we were like, what if Craig moves out and the Doctor just has a key to, like, someone's apartment?
Oh, yeah.
And it happened. Even more solid proof that Doctor Who was created via podcasts.
I don't know.
By time travelers from the future going back in time and creating the show based on what they heard on podcasts.
I don't know if that's solid proof of that.
Well, I do.
Okay.
Should just say some wild things and see what happens.
And see if it gets integrated into the show.
Yeah. I mean, then again, because this all involves time travel, we could say these wild things years after they actually occur on Doctor Who. Could still all line up. Could still all make sense.
I guess. We could say some wild things like they should put the 6th Doctor in a patchwork rainbow coat instead of that leather outfit. And
now there you go.
No one can prove that.
Thanks.
That was all me. It's all my fault.
Costume designers, no credit there.
Nope, it was all me.
Us. Anyway, James Corden is back and better than ever as Craig.
Is he? Better than ever? You think his performance here was better than in The Lodger?
No, I thought it was pretty good.
Gareth Roberts tried to find a title for this episode that used the word Lodger but couldn't think of one.
The Lodger 2.
The Lodger 2. The Lodgering.
Electric Lodgeroo.
Lodge 2, Lodge harder.
It is almost Christmas. And as we know, just as Rocky is a Thanksgiving movie, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Why not the name Rocky 2 Rock Harder or Rock On? Anyway, yeah, Craig's like...
There's precedent for all of Craig's friends and family to not trust him because he's awful with this kid.
Apparently, yeah. Doesn't know how to maintain the baby.
He looks at the baby and it starts crying like it's perfectly fine, and he makes eye contact and sets it off.
Well, we find out Stormageddon, Dark Lord of All, doesn't really buy that Craig's dad. He just calls him not mom. If the Doctor is to believe, the Doctor could be totally lying about speaking baby right now.
Well, that's what I liked about this entire thread that carries on through the episode, is that the Doctor could just be making all of this up. We don't know. We kind of believe he is, actually.
The Doctor comes in, he's scanning around, he sees some electrical fluctuations, he scans around, and Craig's like, hey, be careful, and the Doctor's like, why? And he's like, shh, and he's like, why? And then this baby starts crying, the Doctor's like, oh, you have a baby. Craig's like, yeah, he's named Alfie. The Doctor's like, he likes to be called Stormageddon, Dark Lord of All, but okay.
Wonder if they named him after Alf, the puppet. The alien puppet from
really
Alf.
Hope not. Yeah, they go downstairs, and the Doctor's like, well, there's nothing weird going on here. All those flashing lights, nope, nothing weird. I'm leaving. Nope, nothing's happening.
And the establishing, we also skipped over this other establishing scene where a woman who works in a department store is, as we find out later, killed, and there are flickering lights in that scene too. So, something suspicious is going on here with the lights. The Doctor tries leaving, and he's like, just walk away, don't notice, stop noticing.
He gets all the way to TARDIS, and he's like, damn it. He tells Craig about this, once-in-a-lifetime alignment of galaxies, and I only got one shot to fly straight through it to get a look. like, but you have a time machine, right? So, like, you don't have to go right now. You could go in, like, 3 weeks and then just, like, time travel back.
Well, he only has 24 hours to live.
Yeah, I guess the thing was that, like, he has 24 hours till this fixed point in time where the doctor at that exact age has to die, I guess is the thing. I was thinking it in, like, relative terms, like, it's happening right now in terms of, like, Craig's timeline, I guess, like, the Earth timeline.
Oh.
I wasn't really thinking of it in terms of, like, the doctor has 24 hours before he's got to go and die. But I forgot that his age would be, like, a part of the fixed point in time.
You know, tick-tock goes the clock till River kills the doctor.
If that was the other verse of the nursery rhyme I almost gave away in
really?
Night Terrors. Mm-hmm. That I had forgotten actually comes later in the season and not in Night Terrors episode. So
there you go. There it is.
Anyway,
a couple days later, the doctor...
I thought it was just the next day, but...
I mean, it's either the next day or the day after the next day, because Craig is only alone for a weekend.
Yeah.
Doctor gets this job real quick. He's desperate for workers in the toy section.
He's got the psychic paper, so I'm sure he's walked up and he's like, yeah, this is my credentials. And they're like, we'll hire you right now.
Professional toy shop.
Professional con man.
Yeah, the doctor's working in this toy shop that Craig just happens to go to, I guess.
Well, it's in this big mall.
Right, or department store, I guess. I didn't necessarily get that it was a mall. I just got that it was a department store.
I thought it was a mall.
Could be a mall.
I'm surprised it's a mall in Ledworth. Or near Ledworth. I guess it's not explicitly in Ledworth, but...
Well, Craig actually... I don't remember if it was Ledworth or not, but Craig actually name drops the town.
Yeah, he does.
I forget what it was. Ledworth. Yeah, I don't think it was Ledworth.
If it wasn't Ledworth, kind of begs the question, why were...
Must have moved.
Rory there?
Or, I don't know. I mean, remember,
well,
I guess
the doctor gave Amy and Rory that house that doesn't necessarily have to be in Ledworth. I thought it would kind of suck if he gave them a house like halfway across the country. He's like, hi, if you want to visit your friends and family, you would have to drive like 6 hours across the country. And kind of be a dick move by the doctor, but, you know, wouldn't put it past him given what the 11th Doctor's done already.
At least you can drive like 6 hours and cross the UK. Drive 6 hours in the US and you're like still in the same state.
In some states.
Yeah.
You can cross some states in a couple hours.
Yeah, no, you can cross
Rhode Island in like an hour.
There's I don't know if this is true or not, but since I'm actually from Maryland, that I'm just interested in stuff like this. But apparently there's part of Maryland that you can like walk across in 20 minutes.
Nice.
Like that. Yeah. It's that real thin part that you see on the map.
Great. That thin part. My favorite.
But anyway, apparently they presumably live in the same city as Craig now.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a town. I don't think I would call it a city. We don't necessarily see the streets and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? I don't know.
Anyway, Craig confronts the doctor and he's like, what are you doing here? Like, what's going on?
The doctor's like trying to sell toys to kids. He's like playing with these toys in front of these kids. He makes an oblique reference to K9 right now in this confrontation because he pulls up this robot dog named like Yippee or something. He's like, say hi to Yippee the robot dog. Not as big as I remember these robot dogs or something like that. And I was like, hey, is he referencing K9?
Yeah, I didn't pick up on any of these references. I guess, yeah, he was referencing K9. Just flying a drone around. Kidding.
The 13th Doctor made a reference in an episode that I just watched, which I wasn't sure if it referred to K9 or Chameleon, but anyway, or at least I hope it refers to Chameleon. I'm going to pretend it refers to Chameleon. But yeah,
some of those Chameleon audios. Heard he's actually well used in the audios.
Well, that's good, because he wasn't on a TV show. Unless you buy into Nathan's theory that one character in any of those stories is Chameleon. Prove me wrong. But yeah, Craig only sees the Doctor because the Doctor flies a drone into Craig. The Doctor is like way overacting the motions required to fly this drone.
That's how you sell it though, right? That's how you pitch it to kids.
I guess. All these kids are like unaccompanied by parents, or at least their parents are like elsewhere in the department store / mall.
Yeah, and I don't know if you realized this, but all the kids in this scene, in this episode really, because there's kids in this scene, they're the 3 kids at the end, but all of these kids are like extremely well dressed. Like these are the pinnacle of, these kids are wearing like the pinnacle of fashion, right?
I didn't notice that, but now that you've pointed it out, I do. It's kind of...
I don't know. It's just a little... It's a little strange.
Yeah, parents are spending a lot of money on their kids there.
Which justifies why the doctor's trying to sell them a £60 pounds, which is like probably $100 toy helicopter.
This is true.
And Yippee the robot dog. No, don't know how much Yippee costs, but wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't a small sum.
This is true. It looks rather expensive, actually. Looks rather advanced.
Yippee spinoff when?
Never.
Yippee and Company
really
when?
Hope never. K9 should meet Yippee and just immediately blast him into shreds. I mean, Sarah Jane still got K9 at this point, right? So...
Yes.
Actually, unless canonically she dies on the same day as
Liz Sladen. What? That would be...
I think canonically in universe, the Brigadier dies the same day as Nicholas Courtney, which I can actually state with certainty because it's next week for us.
Huh. It's interesting.
Or at least close to the date. Anyway,
the doctor reveals that he couldn't just put the strange occurrences out of mind, and he had to investigate, and he wants Craig to be his partner in crime.
Well, actually, he tells Craig to go home. He's like, Craig, go away. And Craig's like, no, safest place.
Right.
Yeah, this is the, like, the doctor's got this whole thing. This is like the antithesis to last week. Because last week, the doctors are like, I brought Amy and Rory into this dangerous situation, and everybody just gets into dangerous situations with me, and they die. And then this week, Craig's like, look, if there's anything weird going on, the safest place is next to you because you always survive. So if I want to be safe, let's stick with you. Craig only has one sample size, so I'm going to give Craig the benefit of the doubt here. Craig, working with his one instance before, could reasonably believe this, but it's not true.
Well, I mean, if we look at just take this entire town, or heck, just take the entire world, the being right by the doctor's side throughout all of this isn't the safest position. You could be totally away from any of the... I mean, I guess there's the chance that you could be cyber-napped, but I don't know. You could be totally uninvolved and be safer.
Yeah.
But I get how this is a resolution to, the doctor's qualms about being around people. Well, he does make that joke, how people always are nicer to people who have babies and stuff like that. And he's like, that's why I always take a human with me.
That kind of sounded almost like a...
condescending?
Like a joke, but also condescending.
No, yeah, it was a joke.
I mean, there's this thing where the doctor does shh to Alfie and immediately gets quiet, and the doctor's like, only works once on lower developed life forms, and then Craig starts talking and goes shh, and then Craig is quiet, and the doctor's like, see?
But you also question if that's actually a supernatural power that the doctor has that we've never seen before, or if
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think so either, especially because he does it twice to...
the other store worker,
right?
The annoying one,
who we meet kind of right now because the doctor
splits up with Craig. The
doctor goes and talks with his, I guess, co-workers. I guess he's just acquainted with everyone in the department store.
Val thinks him and Craig are partners.
Right.
The doctor's like, does partners sound better than companion? It's like, the doctor's been calling them companion. Kind of like, RG in The Doctor's Wife. She's like, oh, they always call them partners in the reboot. And I was like... wasn't remembering exactly when they do that, but they do it here because the doctor actually refers to them as companions in this scene.
Right, but this is actually interesting as a piece of a fan term getting inscribed into the show. Although I think they call them companions as early as maybe the first or second Doctor. I think they use that word.
Well, yeah, like we said in The Doctor's Wife, the first Doctor says fear makes companions of us all, which isn't exactly referring, calling them companions.
No, but I mean, I think if you look at, Radio Times scans and stuff like that.
Fan. Yeah, I think they were calling them companions back then.
Yeah, which I think is where the term comes from. But, I mean, it's not usually explicitly said on the show, and here it is, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But now they have friends, right? The 13th Doctor.
Well, when we get there, I have things to say about that because I think that term is actually specifically chosen by the 13th Doctor based around some things around her character that I'm going to say for when we get there.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I've spoiled enough. But yeah, we can talk about that much later.
Because I actually think, I don't want to talk too much about that, but I actually do think that was like a deliberate choice on the part of the people making the show as like a character.
Well, I mean, of course it is. Like, what else could it be?
Yeah, I mean, it could also just be like them being like, well, partners and companions is an outdated term, so we should update it. But I actually think it's like, I don't think it's that. I think it's a specific character choice.
Well, what's the difference at the end of the day?
The difference is why Chibnall did it.
But why does that matter?
I don't know. I mean,
exactly
why it matters doesn't change why he did it, I guess. Like, whether or not you care why he did it.
What?
You know what? I worded that really poorly. I'm not going to try again. We're just going to move on.
Craig is gathering information like the most bonkers way possible, which is like sketchily hitting someone up in the women's lingerie section. Actually, just the lingerie section. I don't think there's like I don't think women's lingerie is like an actual term because
I think
what
lingerie,
other type of lingerie is there?
Men's lingerie.
Yeah.
Is lingerie a term that refers only to women's undergarments, or?
These are the questions we're asking 230 episodes in.
What else are we going to ask? We like exhausted all the questions about the show at this point. 230 bloody episodes of this nonsense.
Everything that could possibly be speculated has been speculated. And now all that's left is lingerie.
Well, until we catch up with the show and we can start doing real speculation about what's coming in the episodes again like we were in the classic show. Anyway.
Yeah, that's one of the good reasons, or that's one of the reasons why it's a good thing Doctor Who is still being, is a BBC show and still is and probably will be for the foreseeable future released on a weekly basis.
Right.
Is that there's speculation rather than just like dumping it all on, I don't know, like Netflix or another streaming service.
I mean, some streaming services release them weekly. Like I said in the episode with IG, Star Trek Discovery released episodes weekly.
Yeah.
Which led to a lot of speculation. Personally, I think releasing it weekly allows for like big cliffhangers too between episodes. Like if you release them like all at once, you put a big cliffhanger at the end of the episode. It's like, well, I don't care. The next episode's right here. I'm just gonna watch the next episode anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, he's in the lingerie section, and then the doctor comes over and he's like, "Hey, Craig, I heard about a metal rat." And he's like, "Hey, George, nice suit." Craig tells George that he's got a nice uniform, and George doesn't react. But when the doctor comes over and he's like, "Hey, nice uniform," George's like, "Oh, thanks, doctor." And the doctor's like, "Yeah, looking real spiffy." There's apparently like a metal rat running around. So I think this is actually like the next day from the start of the episode, because Craig's only alone for the weekend, and then they go home for the night, and then they come back the next day, again, another day. So somebody goes home because George is left alone. But before they do that, actually, the doctor and Craig get in the elevator because the doctor's looking for the teleport. And
well, the elevator's out of order and it's blocked off by tape.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, oh, who cares about this? And he brings it back into operation using, you guessed it, the sonic screwdriver. And it turns out that within the elevator is a teleport to the cyber ship.
Right.
That's, I guess, in orbit. Somewhere in space.
It's actually not. The doctor thinks it's in orbit now, but he discovers later it's actually buried underneath the shopping center. Because it's in those caves later on. And the doctor's like, that's why I couldn't find it. That's why the doctor was like, I couldn't find it when I scanned the skies because it was underground.
Huh.
And that's why these Cybermen that's why they were working off of like spare parts, because the doctor's like, oh, these Cybermen are like, all the parts are like really old. It's because it was like trapped underground for a long time. And they were like running out of parts.
That makes sense.
So anyway, they teleported to the ship, and the doctor's like, I love you, Craig. I'm going to kiss you now. And Craig's like, dude, I'm married. Also, no. And then he looks around because the doctor's trying to get Craig not to look around. But then Craig looks around and he's like, oh my God. Turns out they're in the cyber ship. And the doctor's like, yep. But he gets him out of there. And that's where they leave for the night. So they go outside and the doctor scans the sky, and it's ship's nowhere to be found. So they go home. The doctor's like, it's kind of weird. But But then they come back later in the evening because they're looking for the metal rat, which is the Cybermat, which I think this is the first time in the reboot we see the Cybermats.
Yeah, I read that this is the first instance that we get the Cybermats since Revenge of the Cybermen? It was a 1975 story.
Fourth Doctor, yeah, Revenge.
I don't even remember what Revenge of the Cybermen was about.
You know, honestly. I don't remember most of the classic stories, like, of the Cybermen, of the Daleks. They kind of all just blended together in my mind. Especially the Cybermen ones, though, because those are, like, really dull.
Well, if you were to say, like, well, that was the one where the Cybermen did blank, or that was the one where the Daleks did blank, I would remember it. But, like, just given the name, I probably wouldn't remember.
Let's go to the Google.
I think you're right. The Cybermen ones do blend into each other more than the Dalek ones do.
Revenge of the Cybermen is the 5th and final season of the 12th. The final story of the 12th season.
Oh man, it was that one. The picture they use on Wikipedia is the because it was the one where they Cybermen like massage people to death.
That was the one that introduced gold as their weakness, wasn't it? I think it was.
And I think
that was the one where the Fourth Doctor just slaps some gold on one of the Cybermen and goes, gold.
Yeah, and this wasn't this one the introduction of Lytton?
Was it? I don't know if we can cast. Oh, here we go. No.
No, I guess not.
No, that was the other Cyberman story.
Well, he was in 2 of them.
Was he in 2 of them?
Yeah, because he came back in that 6th Doctor one, where they go to Mondas. And there's like
what was the first story he was in a Cyberman story? Or was he introduced in something else? I thought he was introduced in a non-Cyberman story.
Oh yeah, you may be right. God, I don't even remember.
The thing is, like, I know it. Like, if you told me, Lytton was in blank, I'd be like, oh yeah, it was that story where blah 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 happened. But if you just tell me what story was Lytton in, well, I don't freaking know. Massaging people to death. Anyway, yeah, so Cybermat's back in the reboot, and the Doctor and Craig go back to find it, and they hear George's screaming as he dies.
Yeah.
Or gets cyber converted. Dies.
And
they go down, and they find his pile of ash, and sucks for them, I guess.
But they capture the Cybermat in a net.
Right. Yeah. Well, the Doctor disables it, or it runs out of power, I think is the thing.
These Cybermats are a lot creepier and faster than they have ever previously been.
They look
if you remember the Wheel in Space Cybermen, those suckers were slow as hell.
I mean, like the Cybermats in the classic series always just look like little silver things on wheels. At least this one has
they put googly eyes on them at times.
Okay, that was the one thing I was missing from this Cybermat, with the googly eyes.
But this one also has an organic mouth, and Craig freaks out about this. He's like, cyber body, organic mouth?
I was freaking out about this because it was scary as hell. But
yeah, it looks almost modeled after, I don't know, shark mouths with like multiple rows of teeth. Although this didn't have multiple rows of teeth, but I don't know why it kind of...
Because they look like fish teeth more than human teeth. Yeah. But the Doctor and Craig take it back to the house, and Craig's like, I'm just going out for some milk. And I'm like, where are you freaking going for milk at like midnight?
Plus, also, Craig seems insanely calm for what's just happened to him.
Well, not only that, they were just at the freaking department store and everything was closed. So where are you going for milk, Craig?
24-hour, convenience store or something like that. I don't know.
And why do you need milk now, Craig? Why don't you just go in the morning?
Damn it, Craig.
He leaves and the Cybermat attacks. Cybermat attack. And the Doctor has to save Alfie, and they run outside and they basically lock the Cybermat inside, and he tries to call Craig, but Craig's phone is inside the house. He left it behind, apparently.
Right. Craig starts getting attacked by the Cybermat, but the Doctor saves him by jumping through the window. But there's this...
Are you about to mention? I'm about to mention. Did you notice the scene that's like really obviously CG, and the CG was like under-rendered, and it looked like really crappy?
What? I don't know what you're referring to.
There's like a single. It's like less than a second, but the Doctor throws the Cybermat off, and it cuts from the physical prop to like a CG Cybermat, and the CG scene looks like really underdeveloped, and then it cuts back to to the physical prop. It's like I said, it's like less than a second.
Well, that's probably why they didn't put too much effort into it. They're like, why waste all this money on less than a second?
Pretty damn noticeable, though.
I didn't notice it. Then again, I was watching this at like 2 a.m, so there you go. But no, the scene I wanted to mention is the moment that the Doctor has with Alfie. Where he goes into Alfie's room and he talks about how old he is and how new Alfie is. No, how young Alfie is.
The older it is, the stronger it is. Never gonna let you live that down.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know we've poked fun at that line for good reason, but like the more you think about that line, the more like in a non-physical sense, but even also in a physical sense, it like also rings true. But we don't have to get into that now. We can get into that when it actually becomes more relevant.
Yeah, he basically tells Alfie
I like this scene though.
He's gonna be able to explore the wonders of the universe soon when he grows up. And it was a sweet scene.
Yeah, paying his mortgage, you know.
Paying his mortgage. Everybody's favorite pastime. Yeah, it was a good scene. I mean, I didn't have too much to say or think about it, really. Except for the Doctor's humorous. Why is there a maniacal beeping behind me?
Right. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. The Doctor believes that all these normal human experiences, quote unquote, are the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Although when you really get down to it, are the things he mentions a normal human experience for most humans? And I would say probably no. Because the things he mentions are like paying your mortgage on a house specifically, right? Mm-hmm. And
a substantial amount of people live in apartments or flats or don't even live in houses at all.
Right. And gosh, he says 2 more things, and one of them is like feeling a existential like emptiness or something like that. And I mean,
depression. Is he saying everybody's been depressed at some point? Kind of sounds like it.
It just sounds like the things he's putting into terms as like of like being normal human experiences are actually only the normal experiences for a very small portion of people on the planet.
Yeah, upper middle class.
Yeah.
First world country.
Yeah, it's basically what he's talking about.
Which I guess is where Alfie lives and is growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
So for Alfie, it'll be, quote, normal, unquote.
Yeah.
We totally forgot to mention the scene where the Doctor's talking about how it's total coincidence that there's something weird going on right when the Doctor shows up now for Craig, which now the TARDIS probably brought him there. And then he's talking about how the universe is funny like that, doing coincidences, and then he sees Amy and Rory, and somebody tries to get Amy's autograph, and I was like, man, remember that theory we made like 3 weeks ago where Amy was just a famous celebrity that just goes missing?
That she and Rory were career criminals?
No, well, I mean, yeah, but then we were like, what if they were just like really famous and...
Yeah, no, I mean, but what if this girl was like collecting serial killers' autographs?
No, well, the thing is that she points...
Yeah, no, I mean, I know what happened, but like,
sign.
It happens afterwards.
I guess.
It's like you have these 2 seconds of speculating, you know?
Yeah, after she gets her autograph, her mom comes up and is like, what was that? And she like points over to the sign, and the Doctor follows her thing and sees the sign that I guess he totally didn't notice in the past 24 hours, even though it's freaking massive right there in the department store. And it's a picture of Amy, who apparently is a model now.
It's a makeup ad.
It's a makeup ad, and it says, for the girl who is tired of waiting.
Right. Guess Amy's really moved up in the world from being a kissogram.
Yeah, do you ever think that some people see her ads and are like, man, I made out with her at a party once. They tell all these stories, and everyone's like, wow, good job. Like down at the pub, it was like, hey guys, guess what? I made out with that Amy Pond chick.
Wow.
You got to think about the pedestrian life in Doctor Who. Into the normal...
Yeah, the greatest thing ever, you know?
The normal people who don't get wrapped up in all this nonsense. I want to give a real shout out, honestly. I know I've been referencing the 13th Doctor a bit because I finally was able to watch some of it. But in the very first episode, the Doctor's like, all right, who's with me? Who wants to find out what's going on? I want to give a shout out to the first time to that guy who's like, you know what? No, I don't want to know. I just want to go back to my regular life. And he just leaves. We give a shout out to that guy.
Blue pill. He's like, what's his face?
I don't know what you're referring to.
The guy in the Matrix who's like, I don't care if the steak's not real. It tastes so damn good.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's that guy's name?
I don't remember. Probably something techno like Cypher or something.
It was Cypher.
Nice, I remembered.
But anyway, what happens next?
Okay, anyway, they actually do find the Cybermen because the Doctor goes looking in the changing rooms and gets teleported into the ship, and he's like, oh, shoot. And Craig is like, the Doctor needs me, and he gives the baby to Val, and he's like, I gotta go save the Doctor, and she's like, yeah, it's okay. I'll give you guys some alone time, and Craig teleports down with a little barcode scanner, and he's like, I'm gonna zap all of you with this barcode scanner, and the Cyberman just blasted out of his hand. And they're like, they want to convert the Doctor to be the new cyber leader, but they're like, no, his biology doesn't fit.
Right. But Craig is there, and his biology does fit.
And apparently he's really intelligent.
Well, and I think they just said that because they thought he figured out their entire scheme on his own. Because he like kind of plot dumps their plan.
Well, I thought it was supposed to be like a moment where like he
found their base and stuff like that.
Where he's actually really intelligent, but like he doesn't realize it, or like he's just really self-deprecating.
I didn't read it in that way at all.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like that in the episode though, where he doesn't feel like he also, in addition to everybody else, doesn't feel like he's really worthy to take care of this kid, and like part of the plot arc of this episode is him realizing that like, yeah, he's able to take care of this kid.
Yeah, but also Stormageddon coming to terms with the fact
Alfie.
that
at the end of the episode,
he prefers to be called Stormageddon.
No, but at the end of the episode, the Doctor says he prefers to be called Alfie now.
But we're not there yet. Of a Stormageddon / Alfie, all right, sure, whatever. Coming to terms with Craig being his dad.
Well,
baby character development.
Well, because
how many shows do that?
Not many. Well, because Craig demonstrates that he really would die for Alfie, basically.
Where was Sophie during all of this, huh? No, I'm kidding.
Where was Sophie during this? I mean, they start converting Craig, and the helmet seals over his face, and it's like, well, rip Craig. He's freaking dead, mate.
He's getting cyber converted, but the power of love brings him back.
Yeah. I mean, it's not without precedent, people breaking cyber conversion. It happened in the next Doctor when the lady breaks the cyber conversion, so we could just shove the blame for that nonsense onto some other writer like Russell T.
I didn't think it was nonsense. I mean, I kind of liked it. There's nothing...
I feel like, I don't know, I was just a little bit, not a lot, I didn't care that much about it, because in the end, I liked the resolution of Craig's character arc in this more than I disliked the fact that, like, Craig already had his emotions removed. Like, I could buy it if they had, like, sealed him up, but they hadn't removed his emotions yet, but,
they couldn't remove his love for his son.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing.
Remember when, what's-his-face turned himself into a human, or, like, deactivated the bomb by, like, believing in the power of love?
What episode was this?
The one with World War II. I'm forgetting what it's called. The one with the New Dalek Paradigm and Churchill and all that stuff.
Victory of the Daleks.
Right, yep.
Where the robot was like, I'm a human now. I feel love.
Yeah.
Power of love is a curious thing. Anyway. That's how they save the day.
Yeah.
Alfie starts crying, and then Craig's like, Alfie! And he, like, tears the cyber conversion off.
Alfie, Craig! Oh, no. This isn't the end of Rocky.
Except Adrian doesn't go, Rocky!
Oh, she doesn't? I don't remember what exactly happens. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I do remember. It is just...
She kind of just runs through the crowd, and then he picks her up. He's like, we did it.
I lost.
Anyway, they go back to the house. Well, the Doctor disappears, and...
They blow up the Cybermen.
Yeah, they blow up the Cybermen. They disappear.
3 of them, at least. I guess the other...
Sorry, the Doctor disappears is what I was saying.
There are 6 Cybermen. That's what the Doctor says, at least. Yeah. They only destroy 3 of them.
I think they blow up the whole ship, though.
Yeah, they do. They blow up the whole ship.
They're all dead. This is apparently the final time that the Cybus Industries Cybermen appear.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently the next appearance of the Cybermen are allegedly the Mondas Cybermen. I don't remember Nightmare and Silver very well, so...
There are a bunch of different variations on the Mondas Cybermen.
So, I mean, obviously they redesign them again. They redesign them like every other story.
Yeah, no, I mean, the new series with the 13th Doctor has brought them back with something closer to their original design.
Yeah, that was the end of the 12th Doctor, yeah.
End of the 12th Doctor, yeah, just less janky.
Yeah. Well, there was a very specific reason for that I'm not going to get into now.
They ran out of money. I'm kidding.
Anyway, the Doctor disappears, but then Craig discovers he went home to clean up the house so that when Sophie gets back, the house is nice and clean. And Craig's like, wow, thanks. And he's like, well, what about the galaxies? He's like, oh, well, I'd rather clean the house.
Really just driving it home that Craig is actually as incompetent as people say. Because the Doctor had to clean his house for him.
I guess. And we find out the Doctor gets the TARDIS blue envelopes from Craig's house.
Right.
And then he leaves right before Sophie gets home. And then there's this kind of scene felt a little disjointed at first, but then when you find out like what's going on, you're like, oh, okay, makes sense. Because there's these kids just watching the Doctor leave. Oh, he gets the Stetson from Craig as well.
Right.
Who gives it to him as like a going away gift. Anyway, we see these kids all watch the Doctor, and
because
he's like, you're welcome.
Because he's going to America. Another one of those...
tropes.
No, it's kind of a weird paradox.
Yeah.
In a way. No, not really.
But these kids are watching the Doctor, and then for some reason, somebody, I guess at some point in these kids' lives, showed up and is like, hey, can you tell me about that one event when you were a kid that happened for like 5 minutes?
It was presumably River.
Presumably, but I'm like incredulous that these kids remembered this one guy.
Yeah, no, there's no like not that realism has to be a part of any piece of fiction or anything.
No,
but there's no way that this realistically would be the case that they remember this thing years later.
Well, I mean, shout out to the final girl who, I don't know why they put this girl's like statement lost because it's the least like impactful.
Well,
she's just like, I liked his hat.
No, it's supposed to be a joke. It's like the other two have something to say and then she's like, oh, I liked his hat or his coat or whatever.
Anyway, then we cut to River in the far future and she's looking at these testimonies.
And this is a follow-up to a scene we had earlier in this season. I forget which episode.
Let's Kill Hitler.
Let's Kill Hitler, which was
her
River's...
applying to be an archaeologist.
Right, her sort of interview.
And this is her. She's graduated now. She's a doctor of archaeology. And Kavarian's like, wow, I made you a doctor. Clever, clever. She opens the TARDIS diary and she's got the Doctor's date of death, at least Silencio, written in there. And Kavarian's like, you know what this is, right? It's when the Doctor dies. It's when you kill the Doctor.
And some silence show up behind River.
Yeah.
And then some people come and take River away.
Some from the Silence, the Church of the Silence, right. Show up with a suit. And then the final shot of the episode is River in the astronaut suit underneath the lake. So finally confirming that River's the one in the suit.
It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious.
Especially because the Time Girl or whatever it is, the other incarnation of River is in the suit as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you don't have anything else to say. Like, maybe we can just touch on this scene. Because this is some confusing nonsense. This is some convoluted...
Oh, if you think this is confusing, you're not going to like next week.
I don't know. I like all of this. I like how it's confusing. But I don't know. Like, I feel like this wasn't executed in the best way possible because...
If you hadn't seen Impossible Astronaut, A Day of the Moon, you'd be super lost here. Let's say that.
Yeah, you'd be super lost. I don't think that that's necessarily a problem because, like, I mean, come on, just like if you're super lost, like just watch the season. Like you have to have some level of investment to get enjoyment out of this, and that's a good thing. But
I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I would disagree with that statement. I don't think you necessarily need to write episodes that look
filters out
quiet.
All the casuals. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but I don't think you need to do that. I think you can have episodes standalone that give you enjoyment. Something like Girl Who Waited, you didn't really need to know anything about.
That's my big problem with this second half of this season is that, not big problem, but like something I wish they did differently, is that I wish there were bits and pieces of this throughout every episode.
This episode's the first time that brings up the question that doesn't have to be asked or should never be asked again since it was introduced in Let's Kill Hitler.
And that's the thing is like because of the distance, because of the amount of time that's passed, it's a little hard stringing all these things together.
Well, I really
which is okay, and it's interesting thematically that that's the case.
I mean, I really only think it's a problem because they introduced an overarching plotline. If they hadn't even said anything about the question in Let's Kill Hitler, then like there wouldn't even be any sort of overarching plot at the second half of the season to like overanalyze or pick apart or like complain that it wasn't included, right? I really only think it's a problem because they set it up in Let's Kill Hitler, but then only follow through with it now. And they had 3 episodes in the middle of their Night Terrors, Girl Who Waited, and there was another one that they didn't reference it at all. So, God Complex, that's what it was.
Last week. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That might be interesting. Once we finish the season, we'll see what that all means. Right?
Yeah.
That they didn't bring it up.
I mean, it's definitely a different way to do the overarching plotline. I think it was somewhat required because they split the season in 2, and they split it even worse next season. The season gets split by a Christmas special, so... But I think, like, if you split the season like that, your overarching plotline, like, naturally...
Well, I mean,
I think it naturally can span both gaps, and the reason why I think it can is because it succeeds next season in doing that. I think that this season, the span of the 2 gaps was poorly executed because in the second half of the season we don't get...
Well, it's like a prototype, I guess, for the next time they do it.
Yeah, and I mean... Yeah, a prototype. I like that.
So how about that Craig?
I like Craig.
Yeah, I do too. I think James Corden really hits it out of the park with this one.
Yeah.
As he did in The Lodger. But I think he comes back better than ever.
I think Craig's a really fun character. It's nice how he's a domestic guy. He lives at home, doesn't travel with the Doctor, but like he's a friend to the Doctor. I think the Doctor calls him a friend in this episode.
They kind of dropped the whole thing where Craig is a real homebody. But that's okay.
That's okay. I mean, he has a baby now and a wife and presumably a job.
Yeah, presumably a job.
I don't know which of the 2 is the money earner in the house. Could be Sophie. Although I think it's implied that it's actually Craig because I think like they seem to imply that Sophie spends the most time with the baby. So
I wonder if Sophie ever followed up on her dream to work with animals. Was that it? Yeah.
No, because she only said she was going to leave because she didn't think Craig liked her. And then Craig was like, oh, well, I only said you could go because I didn't think you liked me.
Yeah, but maybe she followed up on that path in another way, right?
Maybe maybe she works at the shelter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there more stories with Craig? I don't know if there are more stories with Craig.
On the TV show, I don't believe so.
I don't think on the TV show, but I want to know if there's like, did somebody write a novel featuring Craig? I really hope so. No.
No.
Damn. Bring back Craig.
Yeah, Craig, I don't know. That's all I wanted to say about him is that he's a surprisingly, like, cool character.
I agree. I think he's pretty cool.
If you gave me, like, the concept of Craig, like, if you explained Craig to me, like, all right.
You'd be like, no.
Yeah. But in execution.
Yeah, no, he's really good. He's different, I think, is also the thing. He's different from a lot of other characters we've got in the show. He's similar in some ways to the Brig, but only in that like the Doctor visits him at different points in his timeline. Although there was also that span of period where the Doctor was literally working for the Brig. Good old unit.
Well, Craig also has that thing in common with the Brig is that because he's not as involved with the Doctor as the actual companions or the proper companions are, he feels a lot more down to earth. Literal, like both in a literal and figurative sense.
He's also
like rein in the Doctor.
Yeah, and he can call him out on his stuff because he's like more neutral outside of perspective.
Right, and Craig does that in a like a lot more
loving and kind way than Rory.
Well, that too, and even more so than the Brig. But since Craig is just a normal guy, he's a lot more. I don't want to use the word relatable.
But it is the word you're looking for.
But yeah, it is. Than the Brig, so whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I don't actually really have anything else to say.
Yeah, that's it from me.
Well, you can email us at thedoctor@decadentvegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, and grants. Love to lose your thoughts on Craig and Alfie. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Trust Your Doctor. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching The Wedding of River Song. But until then, the end.